Hello everyone, welcome back. In this video, we will implement our authorization for our travel application which we created for the draft scenario. And for that, we will implement global authorization, instance authorization and pre-check authorization as well. We start with the global authorization. We will check that user have access to create, update and delete travel entity, booking entity and booking supplement entity or not. For this purpose, we will use authorization object which is available an existing authorization object in the demo environment /demo /erbl. We can create our own authorization object also, and for that authorization object we can configure and the role assignment, and we can give the access to the particular user as well, but that kind of privilege we don't have in the demo environment. That is the reason we are using the existing authorization object. If you want to know how to create authorization object and how to give access to the particular user for that particular authorization, I have explained that in detail in my CDS video series when we were creating the DCL. Along with that, I have explained. I will give that video link also in the description and I button as well. So without wasting the time, we will jump into the system. We'll create first global authorization. In my previous video, we defined the instance authorization in our behavior definition. Now we will define the global authorization as well. Once you define the global authorization, let me activate this one. It will ask us to create one method in behavior pool that you can do easily. You can do control 1 and it will give you the quick info aid method for the operation global authorization. Let me click on that and it will automatically create one more method in our behavior pool classes, that is handler class, that get global authorization method. First we will implement the global authorization. Let me do control F3. Before I'm implementing this global authorization, let me preview the existing application. You just double click on the service winding and select your root travel entity and click on preview button. I was previewing already. Let me close existing one. Let me preview again. If you see this one, and I will put the breakpoint on both the global method as well and the instance method as well. Or let me rephrase the application. So those breakpoints should trigger when I click on go button. As I told you, since this is the many scenario, so global and instance both method will trigger for authorization. First it will trigger global one. When you do F8, then it will trigger the instance. Then we will display our application. When we get the data from the system, before that itself it is triggering. As of now, you can see we have the create button. If you select some existing travel, you have delete button as well enable, or you can delete as well. You can see I can delete the existing travel ID. It will again trigger the authorization control. That first it will check if you have access to delete that particular entity or not in global authorization, and in instance authorization it will check based on the existing values you have access or not. That also we will implement. Let me do F8, but in this case we have the access, so it will delete successfully and we will get the message as well. Let me go to the line item detail. Each time it will call the global and local authorization. Not local, global and instance authorization. Here also you can see we have edit button, we have delete button. Okay, let me refresh it. So it is checking, we have some. So let me remove the breakpoint, because each time when we access the application, it will trigger the global and instance authorization. Let me do F8 and let me see the application now. I think for this travel we don't have any bookings, so we can't see any booking as of now, but we have the travel. Let me come back and get some travel where we have booking. Let me give 1 second. Let me click on go button. Let me open any existing. In this case we have one booking as well. In this case you can see you have edit button is enabled and delete button is enabled. As soon as you click on edit, it will edit the travel, and you can delete as well this particular table. Not only that, you can create the new booking identity as well, and you can select this one, the delete also will be enabled. And if you go inside further, you will be having edit and delete button enabled, and for the booking supplement, create is enabled. As soon as you select, delete is enabled here, and you click on that, then again you can see edit and delete both are enabled for booking supplement as well. Why I am showing this all the things? As soon as you implement the authorization and you will try to create, update and delete, those buttons will be disabled from here. How it will be done? For that, let's come to our implementation part. So as we each time, let me do F8 if it is somewhere stuck. It's not stuck. Okay, let me terminate and disconnect all, and let me come to the ABAP perspective. Each time when we implement any method, we will see the importing and exporting parameter of that particular method. So let's do F2. You can see we have importing parameter called request authorization, and the exporting parameter we have the result and reported. In the requested authorization, if you see further deep down in the derived tab, you have the 3 component: create, update and delete. It will check basically you are requesting for the create, update and delete, which operation you are requesting for the authorization. In the create scenario, it will check the create. In update scenario, it will be the update will be the updated as a flag X, and then in the delete scenario, it will delete operation will be flagged as a X. In that case, we will able to see what kind of authorization currently it is requesting for. Based on that, we will check the authorization in this particular method, and we will fill the result in the result changing parameter. If we have access, then we will fill with the X. If we don't have access, then it will be filled with the blank value. So that also we will see. In the reported, we can give the error messages. Obviously, if you are checking for travel, then respective travel ID we have to fill with the error messages, and if you are checking for the booking or booking supplement, then you have to fill the respective IDs, CID and the other detail, and we can pass the message variant, and we will give the error message appropriately. So first we will check. So in this case, let me click on enter. Let me do F2. Let me copy the this importing parameter called the requested authorization, Control C. First, what I will check, if this requesting authorization for the create we have access or not. Create equal to, and if let me do here, I will check from the that particular flag, if you aware, if ABAP behave MK, you see something called MK is on. Basically we are checking what if it is create authorization is requested is or not. If it is on, means it is control structure. Basically if it is on, means it is requesting for the create. Same way we have to check for the update and delete also. Let me do Control Alt arrow down button. Let me do check for the update. Control space you will do update, and let me do the for the delete also. Let me do shift F1, control F3. In the create case, the create will be flagged as X. If you see what is the value on F2, it will be 0 1 obviously, not X, and this particular create operation it will be 0 1, and in the if you are not requesting for create it will be 0 0. Now let me call the authorization object. Before that, let me open the authorization object so which we are looking for. So let me do control shift A, once again control shift A /dmo /trvl. So we have the authorization object called demo travel. If you open this authorization object, let me double click on this. So we can also create in the authorization object in the Eclipse. You have to give the object class and the description, and you can see the what kind of authorization field you want to give, like we give in the our normal GUI as well. Now we don't have GUI on the cloud and ABAP BTP environment. You just right click on the your package and create the authorization object. You will get the option. In this case, you can see this particular authorization is checking once against the activity, second against the country. First we will check in the global authorization against the activity, and then in instance authorization we will check against the country as well, because in global authorization you will be not having any values or any importing parameter. It will check for entire BO. You will be not having any key importing parameter. We saw the interface of our method, we don't have any key. Apart from that, you just it is asking for you have create, update or delete authorization access or not. So in this case for 01 if you have create access, for 02 we have to change if you have change access or update access, and 06 for the delete, and 03 for display. As of now we don't need any read access. If you want to implement read access, you have to implement the DCL, as I told you in my previous video, that you can easily implement. How to implement DCL I have explained in detail in my CDSUC video series. You can check it out there. So let me come to the my implementation part again, and let's call. I have created a small template to call authorization object. So let me click on enter. So basically we will give this authorization object name. You can also create the template, it's not a big deal. You can do control 3 and you can go to the templates, and you have option to create the template, create a new template. You can change the existing template. Just now I have created for authorization object because we were not having the value help for the authorization object in when we are writing the code. That is the reason I have created my own, so no need to write again and again. So in this case I will give the authorization object name. Let me give /trvl, and I need for this particular we have two fields. One is the country. Let me copy that field, control C. Let me see it got copied or not. Control V, it got copied. And since I don't have any country to pass, I will give dummy. Dummy means all the access I will be given by default. It will not check against this particular country value, but I want to pass for the create. I want to pass here 01. So let me see again here. It's for the create 01. Same way I will do the implementation for the let me close this authorization for the control C for update as well, and for the delete as well. It will return us size abasi value that we have to fill in this. If you do F2 over here in the result parameter, inside the result parameter we have the create, So we have to fill this particular result. So in this case, result, control space you will do result, and control space you will do create. You can fill the value. So value we will fill, and we will use, in this case we will use the conditional operator. Either it will be conditional operator, and for conditional we have to use when this particular size abas equal to 0. Size abas equal to 0 means the size abas value equal to 0, then control space you can do, you will get the help here, control Z, deleted accidentally. Then what we will do, we will pass this value from again this interface only, but this time we have something different for authorization thing. We have something called auth, and we have values, two values, allowed or unauthorized. So first we will pass allowed. In this, if size bar se got 0, else we will pass this value as not allowed. Control C, control V, and control space you can do, and you can see you can pass unauthorized. Control space unauthorized, and you can close this particular bracket. The same way we can pass for the control C update as well, and delete as well. Shift F1, and you have to pass update, control space, and you have to pass here delete. One thing we have to mention, for the update we have 02, and for delete we have 06. Let me do shift F1 and control F3. This is how we have to implement the global authorization. There is no much thing, we are just calling the authorization object. Let me put one breakpoint. Go to my application, come back and refresh this one. Now it will load the latest code. Let me click on go button. The data will be displayed. Let me see. So first it is checking for you have access to create or not, but we are asking for the create or not. In this, for that we have to see the values. You create is value 00. You are not asking for the create operation, it will not check. You are not asking for the update operation, but in this case we are asking for the update operation. So one more important thing, create will be triggered once you click on create, but since we already have the existing data on the screen, so that is the reason you can see update. Whenever you are clicking on go button, it is not checking for the create button, but it is not checking for the create, but it is checking for the update and delete. It is asking that the user have update and delete access or not. It's not asking for the create. Based on this update and delete, it will disable the update and delete button from the screen. It's not asking for the create. Create will be derived when you click on create button. That also I will show you, but let me do as of now F8. And if you see screen, create is still enabled, but even you select some travel entity, this time you can't delete, because the authorization, global authorization is already checked and this particular button got disabled. If you go further inside, let me go where we have the multiple entities. Let me come one step back. Let me deselect this one. We have already authorization called. Let me do F8. It is calling every time. So let me let it be. We have to check for the create as well. So let me go inside the 4135. It will check the authorization again. Let me do F8. Let me do Alt Tab. In this case, you can see you don't have edit and delete button. For the booking also, create got disabled. Since your booking and booking supplement authorization depended by your root entity, for that also when you are updating and deleting, those authorization got derived, and based on that this delete and create button got disabled. So create by association also got disabled, and the delete also got disabled. Create by association, basically that also update operation for that particular travel. If you go further there, it will happen for same thing for the, it is checking again the authorization, and based on that it is disabling the for the supplement also, and the create and update operation for the supplement also, and for the booking also. Same goes for the booking supplement as well. Each time it is triggering the authorization, and you can see which authorization got asked each time based on those. Create, it is not asked, but it is asked for the update and delete operations. Update, it is asked this time because you are going further inside. So let me do F8, because in that screen we don't have any create option. Create for the booking supplement you do in previous screen. So it is asking for only update. If you have update access, then the edit button will be enabled, otherwise it will be disabled. Let me come back one step back and one step back again. Let me go further inside to show you for the booking. Now that authorization is already derived, those values are there, it is not going again and again to fetch the authorization. So that is again good thing, it is already cached or something like that. So this is how the authorization is working, and we don't have authorization. But let me check for the create as well. For the create travel entity, which is now enable, so as soon as you click on create, you will be able to create that particular travel. Let me give some random value. Let me give something. Let me give start date, end date, total price. Let me give some currency. Let me give airline ID, description, customer ID. I know this will be not gonna create, so I'm not worrying about that, what values I am giving. As soon as you click on create, it will first call the global authorization method from our flow diagram also, if you can remember. So this time we are asking for the create operation, so this is enabled. It will be asked, and the result will be 12. Size of RC 12 means you don't have access. If you do F8 in the front end, you are not authorized for these operations, these modifications. You can create your own messages also, and you can fill that messages in the reported messages as well, and you can give. But as of now, this framework, it is returning this message, you don't have access to create the particular travel. Now we will implement the instance authorization. For that, let me go to my code. Before going to instance authorization, because it's each time it is triggering and checking the authorization, and we are returning that we don't have authorization. To revert that, what we will do, either we can comment it out this code, so it will not check each time, or we can give access, but as of now I don't have any authority, so I can give the access. So let me comment it out this particular code where we are checking this authorization, or we can give each time by default authorization. So better we will comment it out. We saw how it is working, but let me comment it out now. Control Shift less than and Control F3. Now we will implement the instance authorization. In the instance authorization, we will check against the values which is available in the transactional buffer, as I told you. So how it should work, let me refresh the application. Let me come back and refresh the application. So you would have noticed one thing, that each time when we implemented the global authorization, each time when we clicked on here globe button, that time it was checking for only for the update and delete operations before loading this screen. Why it is checking before? Based on that it want to enable and disable this particular delete and edit button. So that is the reason what is required on this screen. For checking that, it will go to the authorization object method and it will check user have access or not. If user not have access, then it will disable those fields from the screen. That's how it was working. So I have disabled those authorization. So again you can see it got enabled. So what I will do, let me go to the one of the travel, and now my requirement is the instance authorization. So based on this agency ID, so currently not agency ID, based on the country code I want to enable and disable this particular user to edit and delete this particular travel entity. When user comes to this screen, if user not belong to that particular country, then he should not able to edit and delete this particular travel entity, and he should not able to create the booking for this particular travel as well. As of now you can see create and delete button again got enabled. I was not able to show you because of my screen when it got disabled, but I will try to put that screenshot and when I am editing the video. So what I will do, for that I have to implement the instance authorization, but I don't have country here. To get the country, but I have the agency ID. For this agency ID, what is the country that I will get from the database table, and for that I will check that user is having access or not. But when you click on edit button, so let me implement first how it is, how we can access this particular authorization, instance authorizations. So let go to the instance authorization. First what I will do, I will see the interface of this particular instance authorization. Let me do F2, and I can see this time we are having the, along with the requested authorization, we are having the keys as well, because it's a instance authorization. It's triggering against the particular instance. So if you see the in the keys, the derived type, obviously we will have only one key, that is the travel UUID, so no need to worry. And if you see the requested authorization, this time we have only the update and delete, because instance authorization will not work on create operation. Obviously if you don't have existing already, you don't have created travel entity, how it will identify based on that particular primary key, that particular instance you don't have created itself. So that is the reason it will work on only on update, delete and create by associations as well. One more thing before going to that, let me go to the my behavior definition. So you can see I have create by association, but for that update and delete we are having that authorization is already enabled. To enable the authorization for create by association also, you have to explicitly define here that you want to enable authorization, control space you can do, but which authorization you want to trigger. Authorization on update, whatever you are triggering, the same authorization you want to trigger when you are creating the booking for this particular travel. So that you have to define in your behavior definition. And if you have some actions also, which we are going to discuss in upcoming video, where we will see the actions with parameter as well, there we will also have to define which authorization it should trigger when you create by that particular actions or you are doing the create by association. Same we have to do in the booking supplement as well. So let me come to booking supplement, booking supplement creation, which we are doing in the booking. So let me write, and you can do control space authorization on update to trigger when you are creating the booking supplement. So that will be navigated again to the whatever the your authorization you have defined on the travel update, that same authorization will trigger here. Or for this delete and update, anyway it will trigger directly for that particular travel, whatever you have defined the update and delete authorizations. Let me activate this one, control F3. Now let me come to again my implementation, and let me do F2 again, control F3. Let me do F2. requested authorization, we can see again update and delete, so no need to worry. It will trigger the create by association, it will trigger same authorization whatever you are defining on the update. The first thing I have to do based on this keys, here I only have the keys, I don't have entire data. So based on these keys, I will read the data from the transactional buffer. So that is the reason I told you in my previous video also, we always have the instance authorization based on the existing value which is available on the transactional buffer, not the values which is coming currently user is updating. So that is the reason. So now we have to use the read statement on the transactional buffer. So we have to use BDL. Whenever we have to read the data or update the data in the transactional buffer, we have to use the which statements? We have to use the EML statements. So read entities of control space, in this case our root travel entity gr underscore travel underscore d, this is our root travel entity. In local mode we have to do, obviously we don't want to trigger the feature control and authorization when this read statement trigger. If you don't do local mode, it will trigger again authorization. So that we want to avoid here, because we already checked the authorization, or it's in the authorization method only. And now I will read the entity. Which entity I want to read? Travel entity. So G travel entity I want to read, and read entity. In this case, I want to read which fields you want to read. I will define the fields. I want to read only the agency ID field. So obviously agency ID field, and with values. In this case, I have to pass what all are the values you want to read. So in this case, whatever the values available in the keys, that obviously it will be the travel UID. So I can use the corresponding operator, and I can use the keys table here. So it will pass the corresponding travel UID. Those I want to read. Now based on those value I want to read. So I want to pass all the travel UID that I want to read. And once I get the data, I want to pass the result. Where you want to pass the result, I will declare one local table lt travels, and if something goes wrong, I will fill the failed structure. Again, that failed structure, again I will put directly the data in the failed data. So we have the importing and exporting parameter here up to, we have the failed data, directly I will put the failed. And if this table should have some data, so check Control V is initial, is not initial, it should not be initial, it should have some data, then only we should go further. If it is initial, then we already failed the failed structure and it will give appropriate error. Step F1. And once we have done, second thing, we have only here agency ID, and our authorization object have the country code. For that, I have to get the country code from the database. So based on the agency ID we have in the transactional buffer, so I have to write one select statement. So there will be simple select statement, select from our database table G. So what is the database table? You can see in our travel ID, or the persistent table is this one, Control C, not G table, this is demo table. Select from this one, and we want to do the inner join. We want to get the travel ID mapping here, inner join to the agency ID table. We have the agency ID table where we can find the country code, demo agency, and on the condition we will be having condition, we have to define is A. It's a simple ABAP, nothing much. Is A I can define, or you can give meaningful name as per your requirement. Is B. So we will use here tilde operator, A tilde operator, travel UID should be equal to B tilde operator, travel UUID, control space you can do. Very, oh, in the B we don't have, not travel UID, sorry, agency ID, control space agency ID, and the agency ID. Based on the agency ID, we have to join the table and then we have to get what all are the fields we have to get, which we have to define in the field list. We can define here. We want travel UID. Obviously that will be the primary key field. Okay, control space you will do. Travel, which fields? No, we have to access to the operator a tilde control space travel UUID, and second thing we want to get the agency ID. Comma separated list should be there. Agency ID control space you can do, and third thing we have to get from the country code from the B table, which that is the reason we have joined this table into table, and we will do the inline declaration and LT underscore agency country data CTRY. Let me write some short name. So this is how we will get the for this particular agency ID. In this case, into table, for all entries we have to pass for all entries in LT underscore travel, because if we don't pass where a tilde operator, I don't want to get all the entry. Obviously a travel UID equal to this control C and @ control V, because it's local variable, so that is the reason travel UUID. Again we have to pass this one @ okay, and for those travels only I want to get the country code. Once I got the country code, then my next thing, I will loop through this table and I will apply the authorization object. Loop control V into loop 8 into data. I will declare some ls underscore travel. So dot and loop we can do. Inside this loop, first thing what I will do, we got the travel data. Now first we have the travel, I want to check the authorization. So to check the authorization, I have the what kind of authorization I want to check. I will check the request authorization. We have already code in my global author. I will use the same code, but this time for the update and delete. So let me use this if control C. I will check this authorization if it is on, and for this one, and same goes for the delete also. I will check, and before doing that, control alt, I will read this table, whatever we got the data, because I need the data from this table. So read this table, read table control V, assigning field symbol I can use. I can give some appropriate field symbol ls underscore. You can use the treble expression also, that is the latest code. Let me use as of now CTRY, old approach only. With key I can give with key, and I need to pass in this, what I need to pass, travel UID. Obviously we have the travel UID, and that I will get from the travel table. Control C. Apart from agency ID field, in the due to we are doing the read operation, it will face the key field as well. If you don't pass anything, at least it will face the key field, as I have explained in my read operation for the EML statements. If you don't know how it is working, you can watch out that video. Table UUID, that's it. And once we got the data from this table, if size sabas equal to 0, sabasi is initial, we can check, then check for this. Else, that means in that table the data itself not there. That means in the transactional buffer itself the data is not there. You are doing for the create operation. Here we have to check for the create, because I will not gonna do here, but at least I just want to say you what we are doing basically. Again, let me explain. we code the data based on the keys which we are getting from the front end, from the transactional buffer to get the agency ID, and based on this agency ID we got the country from the agency ID table. I'm looping over the data whatever we got from the transactional buffer, and we got again read back the agency ID so we can check the authorization. If this table is not having any data, means we are using for all entries. So one thing we have to make sure that we already checked LT travels should not be initial, so that is good. And LT travels is not having data, then LT agency country will also not have the data, or that might be scenario you created some travel, or you are creating new travel which is not having the travel UID that is available on the transactional buffer, but for the travel ID that is still not persisted on the database, so you will not get for that country. In that case, that will come under the create scenario. That will happen when you will call directly this BO from the another BO or another program, not through the front end. That can happen, that also we can see, and that code we have to write in the else statement in here. Basically that I will not write, that is to prepare proper BO, then only it is required. And if it is asking for the update operation, let me use my auth, shift enter, or I have already written code, why I have to write the code again and again. Control C, let me paste this code, Control V, Control Shift greater than, and this time I will use, instead of dummy I will use field. Control C, which field I want to use, Control V. I can pass the field from here. I have not here, I have the country from here. Control C, Control V, Control space, country code I have here, and I can check against this country code user have update access or not. Same thing, Control C, I can do in the Control V, delete access or not. Shift F1, and once I got the access, if Saisabas is initial, I have to return back the result. So let me write down here as well. So what we have to fill back, in this case we have the result tab, F2, we have the result, then result is type of the internal table, again table, so we have to fill this result table. So let me fill this result table, or you can fill together as well, or you can fill separately. Let me fill result tab here. Oh wow, result, that should be equal to value operator I will use to fill this table. Again first I have to fill the travel UID, which is the primary key field, and that will come from this ls travel. Control C, which we got from the transactional buffer, travel UID, and the second thing we have to pass here, the user have update access or not, that thing we have to pass. Let me put dot apart from travel UID, so that we have to pass if else condition like we have passed here in my authorization field. Control C, let me paste here, Control V, I have to do Control Shift greater than as well, Control V, Control Shift greater than. So basically the second field is update field. If size Habasi got 0 here, then it is allowed, otherwise it is not allowed. So like that we have to pass. Same thing for this also. Control C, I can write this result tab one time only, I can fill at last, but it's again how you are coding depends on, we don't no need to write again and again this particular code. So we have to, if size bar is equal to 0, we have to create local variable, and based on those local variable we have to fill at last. That also you can do, but I don't want to do that kind of thing now. So we have travel UID, in this case update, we have delete, Control space delete. I think that's it. Shift F1. Okay, it's not doing it properly, let's it be Shift F1, Control F3. So like that I have activated my code. I have checked the update based on the country code, I have checked the delete based on the country code, and that country code we have written based on the transactional buffer data. Here one more important thing, we are not checking authorization against the incoming values. We are checking the authorization based on whatever data available on the transactional buffer. If the data is not already available on the transactional buffer, it will get the data from the database and put on the transactional buffer, then it will be read from the transactional buffer. How it will happen by the framework. So that's it. Let me now test it out. Control F3. Let me put one breakpoint over here. Do some update operations. Go to my application. Let me refresh the application. And let me put breakpoint as well. Breakpoint I already put. So let me click on go button. So breakpoint got triggered. Let me do F6, reduce this little bit. I don't require that much. F6, what we are doing, based on the keys, currently all the 20 keys will be available. So basically what it is happening, whenever you click on go button, it will get the read request from the backend, but this time it will read from the database. And as soon as it will get the data from the database, it will pass against those keys to the authority check method to check the user have update and delete access or not. It will call instance and global feature, not feature also it will call, and instance and global authorization also it will call. Based on that, it will enable and disable the delete and update button. So let me do F6. This time I got the, based on these keys, I got all the travel ID. If you double click on the LT travel, for all these particular travel UID, you got all the agency IDs. So we got only 20 because it is a batch request. The front end never called all data together. It will call in batch request. I have shown you multiple times. They will pass top and skip. This is the Fury element application, how it works. So we have the data. For this agency ID, let me get the countries. So if you double click on LT agency country, for each agency ID, I got the country. I am looping through the data, LT travels, which we got from the transactional buffer. I'm reading the data from the LT country table, agency country table. And if you, in this case, we have 20 entries, so no need to read with keys. You can directly read, no need to worry. And if I click on F5, first we will check what authorization it is requesting. When you click on go button, it will check for both the authorization, update and delete. It is asking for update also and delete also. So let me do F5. Obviously we don't have authorization, so it should be disabled. So let me do F5, and size sub RC got failed. You can see size sub RC is 12. If you see the result tab, we have filled the result tab 01 for this particular travel UID. First travel UID, we filled the 01. Now we are checking for, okay, I did one mistake again. It should be not update, it should be delete. That is fine. Control F3, that is fine. It will not work in this, even we have activated in this run, it will not run, but it will run in next run. So let me do F6. Again we did one more mistake. As I can see, we are not appending the result table. Instead of that, we are filling again and again the result tab. So it will create again issue, because now you can see it was delete become 01 because we pass as a delete, and here update becomes 01. So that is creating issue. So we have to change our code accordingly. We have to fill the result tab only one time. That is the one mistake we have done. And let me do F8 button and go to the front end. You can see still not disabled. Let me select one of them. Nothing got disabled or enabled. Okay, you can see 4136. Only we filled the one entry. The delete button got disabled. But if you select the 4135, it is not disabled because we didn't fill the result tab properly. So now we have to fill the result tab properly. So for that, what I have to do, so instead of doing this, I can do one thing: append this value to result. Like that we can do. Obviously we can do result, and what is this? Okay, compatible, append this value, which is having append this particular value. Okay, this should be work area in this case, not the table. So let me remove one bracket. So now it is fine, and the same thing we will do here as well. Instead of doing this, and append this value, we'll remove this one here to result. Okay, now it is working. Now we are appending. We have a delete operation here. Here also we have changed to the delete, and here we also update and update. Shift F1 and Control F3. So I think we have to return error as well in the result error tab, but I'm sure it should be disabled. So let me do one more thing. At least I will give the error message to the front end. That is very required. F2. If I have failed structure, we have to fill the reported structure. Control C. And in the reported structure, if something goes wrong, we have to fill the error message. So for that, we filling the reported structure. Again, we have to use value operator, and the value operator we can fill the values like this. We have travel UUID, obviously, or we have the transactional key we have to fill, obviously, in this case. Control space TKY. If you have, oh, we don't have transactional key in this case. Let me do F2, reported structure, not the reported, sorry. Okay, we have this one. Control C, we have to fill this component. So basically we have to fill this one, not this one. In this case, if you see here, we have TKY. Yeah, we have the transactional key. That transactional key value should be come from this travels. Control C. And apart from that, we have to fill other values also. I have already code for this. Let me pause the video and write quickly. So I quickly return. Basically what I did, I appended the entry again. We should not fill the table because we have to append the multiple entries in this one. So we pass the transactional key. We have to pass the message object for the error that we have created using this particular message, we can say exception class, which is a standard exception class again, which I have shown you in my previous video also. Basically it is an exception class which is inheriting the let me show you quickly, which is inheriting from the CX statics checks, and it is, we have filled the other data, and we have message class also for this, and the same message class we have used this message class, and we pass the agency ID, we pass the text ID, and we got the text from the T001 table, and we pass this severity equal to error. So this is message object we have created using this particular class, and we pass the agency ID. We just want to indicate this is error coming due to the agency ID. That is the reason we make its element as a on, and we append it to return reported structure. Now same thing we will do for the Control C here as well. Control V, Shift F1. Let me fill this particular result tab only one time. So instead of 2 time, what I will do, Control C, after the and if, what I will do, I will fill this particular result tab only one time. So here we have update operation. Let me comment it out, this one here, Control Shift less than, and this code condition operator I will write here, Control C, Control C, Control V, and this should be data. I will declare inline LV. This is update, which should equal to, and I can't use the This should be type of whatever the type this is having, F2, this type of this one, Control C. So let me create one, Control 1, declare locally, and this type should be Control V. I think this will work. Same I will declare for LV update also, Control Alt arrow down, and instead of update I will put delete, and this I will fill here, LV update, and let me put this dot here at last. Same thing I will do for the C update also, delete also. Let me do Control Shift less than for the result tab. I will get only one value, that will be delete. Shift F1, and finally I will fill here update from the LV update, and Control Alt arrow down button, and delete from the LV delete button, and we will fill only this particular result tab only one time instead of filling it multiple time, Control F3. So now I hope so it should work, and let it be this error message multiple time, and let me do one thing, Shift F1, Control F3. I hope so you got it. What I did, instead of filling this result tab two times, I got the data what needs to be filled for LV delete, whatever the, if have authorization or not, it will be filled here, and finally when we filled the result tab only one time. Okay, let me do one thing. Let me do refresh my application. This time delete also should be disabled, and when we go inside, the edit button also should be disabled. Not only that, create by association and those all things also should be disabled. Let me click on go button. Let me do F8. This time only we have filled one time only, so I think so it should work. So delete, anyway it is disabled for all the entities. You can check and you can select multiple entities also. You can see it is disabled. Let me go inside one of the entity. We'll check again for the authorization. Let me disable all the breakpoints. Let me do F8 this time and come back. You can see edit is disabled. Let me go back here, come back, let me check for the another entity which have multiple entities. You can see edit is disabled. Not only edit, let me take a screenshot from here, and that I will show you. If you see here, the delete and create by association also here disabled. It's not visible from here. Let me do scroll down. You can see here, and we don't have the, if you go inside further, because these authorization dependent on parent, you don't have any authorization to edit the booking as well, and create by association for supplement also you don't have, and if you further go in the supplement, you don't have edit options. Everything got disabled. So, and that error message why I have written, if somebody access this particular BO, it is not required ideally. If somebody access this BO from the program, then we have to return this error message, because for the from the program, if somebody access or some other business object or some program, when it will call, we have to fill this particular reported structure and tell them it is error, because for them they can do anything through program. In the UI we can disable the field based on the authorization, but when we call from the program, we can't enable or disable. So this is how the instance authorization work. Now last thing is a pre-check. To see the pre-check, my requirement is like that my edit button should be enabled, or create button obviously it is enabled, but it should be enabled. But when I enter some value here, against that I want to check the authorization. Currently in the instance authorization, what it is happening, we are having only the key fields. Based on these key fields, we are reading the existing data from the transactional buffer, not the data what we are passing here. So now what we have to do, we have to see this data whatever we are passing from front end, and based on that I want to do the authorization. Suppose I'm passing the agency ID from here, so I have changed some agency ID, and now I am saving the data in the database. That time it should check whatever I have changed that agency ID, for that agency ID I have access or not. Whatever available on the transactional buffer, against that I can check using the instance authorization. But based on that what I have entered now, against that I have to check, then I have to check that in the pre-check. So let's quickly implement the pre-check method. We will define the pre-check for the create for that. So create operation, and I will define the pre-check for the pre-check we have to write for the create operation, and I will define for the update operation as well. Not update, I have to write again here pre-check, sorry. And now let me activate this one, Control F3, do Control 1. Let's generate both the methods for the pre-check, one for the create, one for the update. I will do implementation only in the one method, not in the both the methods. So we have, you can see in the declaration parts also, pre-check create and pre-check update. So let's do for the create quickly. You can try it out, update your own, how it is working to check. And before that I have to comment the existing code, because I need the, anyway for the create operation I don't need the disabling anything. When I click on create, anyway I'm going in editing mode, and now if I enter some agency ID here wrong against that, so let me implement for update, not for the create. If I implement for update, so I should have some edit button there before checking the authorization. If I'm not able to edit, then how I will apply the pre-check, because pre-check always against the input values, not here. So for that, let me comment out the existing code. So whatever we have written in the get instance method, or you can give the always authorization equal to true, that also work, but let me comment out this one. And for our pre-check we will write some different code, Control Shift less than. Let me activate this one, Control F3, and let me write the code in the update method. So whenever we write the code in any method, let's see the interface how it is. F2 over here, we have the entities statement as an importing parameter, but this time we not only have the key field, we have entire data from the front end. Travel ID, travel UID, agency ID, everything is there. I have to check against the agency ID. You might be the requirement is there, you want to check the amount, you want to check something else. So you can check against all the values. So if you want to check against the values which user entered, then you have to write in the pre-check method. Then one more important thing, it will not enable and disable, and UI things will not happen when you write in the pre-check method. So let me write some code here. So I have entities method. So in this case, I have to declare one table data. So this time LT agency table I will declare agency. This should be type table of, or you can declare sorted table of. Instead of the standard, let me declare type sorted table. Sorted, let it be standard table of DMO / agency. You can do control space. I want to declare agency table, and I want to fill this table, Control C. Let me sorted table, let me define sorted table with unique key agency ID. Okay, and then I have in the importing parameter I have this entities field. So I have to move all the entries from this particular table agency IDs values corresponding to Control V, and in this case I have to use the mapping, and I want to map agency ID field with equal to. If you don't know corresponding, I have explained very well in the agency ID, but this time not the LT agency, it should come from the here entities. Control C, Control C. I did wrong here, that is the reason I didn't get correct values, and this time if you see Control space, we have agency ID mapping. And in this case I don't want to pass other fields, so except all, I just want to pass the agency ID field, that is the reason. And one more thing we can do, discarding duplicates. I don't want to have the duplicate entries, so based on this I will hit again. Now after doing this, check this particular table should have some entry, is not initial, it should have some entry, then only it should go further, otherwise it should not go further. And now I will hit my select from this table, Control C, Control V, fields, which fields I want. One, I want the agency ID, obviously agency ID I want, and second thing I want apart country code, I want country code. Something is there, I have to write the comma separated list obviously, then only I will get the help from this table, where I have to pass 4 roll entries. I can pass 4 roll entries in Control C, @agencies, where agency ID, again I will pass like this, it should equal to @agency ID into table @data, and I will get this all the detail into the my table called LT underscore AZ underscore CT. I will write this time, so it will be sorter. So I will be having all the data. Shift F1. So I go to all the country code because I want to check the authorization against the country code. Now if size Abasi is equal to initial, size Abasi is initial, I did some wrong, I'm not getting. Shift F1. Once I got the data, then what I will do, I will loop through the entities which I got here, Control C, and I will check the user have tab at Control V into data, and I will loop into the ls entity. That's it, and loop. And I will check each time the authorization. So authorization check statement I already have. So let me see from my edit mode. So this authorization basically I will gonna check for the update. Control C, Control V, Control Shift greater than. So this time we will be having 02 for update, and Control C. This is the work area this time. Control V. And if we have authorization or not, we will check for everything. Country code is there in a ls entity, not from this one. So again we have to read the data from this one for that. So let me read the data. Control Z we will do, and we will read the data from this particular. Control C, based on the read table. Control V, assigning field symbol, I will declare the same field symbol. Control C, Control V, and with table key, with key agency ID should be equal to whatever I am getting the agency ID from the my importing parameters. Agency ID, that's it. Again I have to check the size Abasi. Obviously agency ID should be enabled, and if the data is not check size Abasi, I have to write here. Once the data is there, and I will pass this data here. And again, once I have access, if size sub RC not initial, sub RC is initial, let me write, and if is not initial, let me write. Then I have to fill this particular method to failed, and the what is the failed and the reported structure. Let me fill this, control C. So let me fill this failed first one. So in the failed, what we have the travel ID. Okay, in this we can fill value operator, we can use and hash. What values we have to fill? Obviously we will be having some good values. Or percentage TKY is there, percentage TKY is there, yeah, percentage TKY from the, but in entities we have percentage TKY, then we are good. Percentage TKY is not there in this. Yeah, we have. So we have to, for this transactional key, we have the error like that. We have to fill. Some issue is there. Oh, table. I think this is the table. So we have, yeah, we have to fill like this. So this table is having the issue. So let me fill this one. I think that's fine. Now I have to fill the reported structure. So reported, we will fill the same how we have filled in the update structure. So no need to worry about much. I have somewhere filled append the value in the reported structure. So this will be control C, and you will see the how it is working. Control shift greater than. In this I have to change small things. This time we have the data in the ls entity. Here also ls entity travel ID. Other things are same. So we are displaying the same error message for the agency ID. Control F3. So let me put breakpoint and see without wasting the time. So this is how I have written the code, and we are checking for the update operation 02, and let me see, the 02 is update only. So I have breakpoint now. I have created, let me activate this also, control F3, and let me activate this also again, control F3. I have breakpoint, and let's see how it is working. So let me refresh the application, come back, refresh the application. Now everything will be enabled through the authorization. Instance authorization we have disabled, we have commented the code. If you click on go button, I can see delete is enabled again. Let me open one of the 4136. In the 4136 you can see edit also enabled, and everything got enabled. You can see create and delete, everything got enabled. But when I click on edit button and I change something, let me change here something to or something, let me remove that USA, keep it as USA, and let me click on save button. Instance pre-check got triggered this time. We go to the pre-check F6. Let me see the agency table. I have only one table, agency ID is blank. Why it is blank? In entities, what data we have? Oh, in entities we don't have any data this time. Why we don't have any data? Okay, because it's update operation, it should have the data. It's only have the travel UUID. Okay, it should have updated data na. Okay, we didn't updated the agency field, that is the reason it didn't got filled. So based on the, if the agency field is updated, then only we have the issue. So somebody changing the agency field, so we have to change the agency field obviously. So it got saved successfully, but somebody changed the agency field. Suppose instead of 70025, somebody selected 7005 and click on save button. Now this will create the issue. In the pre-check we will check that our LT underscore agency have one value. Now you can see 7005, we will go inside and we will get the country code for this particular agency. You can see, double click on here, we have D country code. Obviously we don't have access anything, so we are looping through again all the entities. Only one entities are there. I'm reading the table, I'm checking for this D we have authorization or not. We don't have SAP RC12. So we filled the failed structure and we filled the append structure. Let me do F8. And in the front end, we got the error, you are not authorization to perform this activity, agency ID field, and agency ID field code highlighted. You can't change this particular field because you are not belonging to that country. So if you have access, you can change, but you don't have access, you can't change. Like that, this pre-check is working. In this video, we have discussed about the instance authorization, global authorization, and the pre-checks. I will check it out in my next video. What else we have missed during the managed read-only application and unmanaged scenario, we will do in this draft application. We didn't started still draft, we just creating the basic applications and then we will convert it to draft. Before going to those videos, please like this video, subscribe this channel, comment it down whatever feeling about this video, and share these videos with others as well, which will help me. With that, thank you and happy learning.